It's the PGN Par 4. I'm Matt Gajtka, along with a special guest host for the first time ever, joining us on the program from WTAE-TV. It's David Kaplan. You see him on television, but he's also a golf nut. You've probably seen him at a local course or 2 or 3 or 10 over the course of the past 6 years since you've been here in town. David, I know you asked to join. I'm sure you're incredibly excited to talk about some golf here in what feels like still the depths of winter, but I think it's the best way to keep warm sometimes is to think thoughts of golf, whether we're watching it on the PGA Tour or actually fantasizing about getting out there ourselves.
There's no better way to spend a Saturday or Sunday than watching the pros do it in warm weather that we hope comes here soon, right, Matt?
Yeah, exactly. You watch the West Coast swing. Well, you start with the Hawaii two-step and then onto the West Coast, and now they'll be heading to Florida and all as part of the run-up to the Masters. We're going to talk some PGA Tour here in just a little bit, but, well, we do want to get to the story of the day in a moment. Unfortunately, recording this on a Tuesday, and if you're a golf fan, you know what we're talking about. Tiger Woods, another off-the-course situation here that has us all just worried about his well-being. And, well, this time around, of course, very fresh. We don't really talk breaking news on this show very often. Usually it's more of a discussion of evergreen topics, if you will. But this time around, we were going to talk a little bit of Tiger, and I wasn't feeling very optimistic he was going to actually get the chance to play in the Players' Championship or the Masters. Now, definitely not going to be the case, as he has sustained, according to his agent Mark Steinberg, multiple injuries to his legs in that rollover accident in California. He was in the midst of shooting some content for Golf Digest and Golf TV with some celebrities, David Spade, Dwayne Wade, Jada Pinkett Smith. They were going to do some on-course instruction, and they were one day into that shoot after Tiger hosted the Genesis Invitational in L.A. at Pacific Palisades. And then, of course, his life gets turned upside down once again. David, I know that in the news business, this certainly crosses over to news. This is not just some sort of a thing that sports fans care about. This is huge here, and you don't want to draw parallels to the 2009 car crash, but there is that situation again with Tiger breaking through that barrier into just general interest. Why do you think his persona has been such that even when something like this happens, it leads the local news? I think it led the nightly news on all the major networks tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you can't think of golf without thinking of Tiger. So I just think whether you're a huge fan of the game or not, obviously it's Tiger Woods. And I know, I don't know if you did, but I recently watched the HBO Max special that they did on him, the two-parter. And he's, I think, sort of his history and a little bit about what he's been through kind of entered a little bit more of the public consciousness. I learned some stuff watching that I didn't necessarily know, just about his childhood and his rise and his fall. And, to see him, and I think part of it also is that we saw him on Sunday. He made an appearance on the broadcast, and, I don't want to speculate, but, say what you will, is there were some memes and things floating out there that he just, hey, is he okay? Is he doing okay? He's talking about his back surgeries. He's talking about everything he's been through. He's talking about, his hoping to be able to ramp up and maybe play in the Masters. But, the way he was talking on Sunday, you didn't necessarily get the idea that it might happen. And now, obviously, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But people are so familiar with his story, I think, in the last 20 years and what he's meant for the game, and understand how dominant and how transcendent he was. So there's that human aspect, seeing him even with Charlie last year, seeing him play mic'd up in some of the, even the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning thing. And then, the special from a couple of weeks ago that they did in Vegas. It's just, I think we've gotten to know him a little bit better in his current form. And whether or not you knew him and how dominant he was when he was golfing, and doing as well as he was 10, 15 years ago, or you're only familiar with the newsier side of Tiger, I think it's, you want him to come out of it. You want him to be better. You want him, everybody watches and wants him to be Tiger Woods again on the course. And, you just, I think you've realized that it's with his injuries and he's driven so much to succeed, and his body just doesn't feel like it can do it anymore. And you hope he's doing the right things to take care of himself to possibly be in a position to to play again. But obviously, bottom line up front, I'm glad that it seems like he's going to live. I mean, for a couple minutes this afternoon, that was something that I was, a little worried about. Kobe's death hit me pretty hard. I know it hit a lot of LA, people really, it's just, you just don't want to, you assume the worst in something like that. So I'm glad it looks like he will be okay as a human, as a father, as a person. And obviously I think that's the most important thing.
Well, you spoke to it. He was just playing a couple of months ago, and I think I buried part of the lead there. Yes, he hasn't been playing recently, had another back surgery, and I wasn't feeling great about it just because of he's had such an issue with the back. And, of course, the back for a golfer is almost everything. It's not literally everything, but it's the center of motion. And, with the way that he's remodeled his swing recently, I think he's been able to reduce some tension on certain parts of his body, certain joints. It looks a lot more fluid than it used to when he was muscling up and learning the new way to swing under Hank Haney a couple of, maybe more than a decade ago now. And he went through the struggles with Sean Foley, and now it seems like he's almost taught himself how to swing like he did as a youngster. And it's been fun to watch him look more fluid and not trying to kill the ball every time, but still getting a lot of speed and still looking like a great athlete, the great athlete that he is. I've been really encouraged by that. So then once the back surgery news came up, I was wondering, man, are we ever going to get to see him compete in, let alone a major tournament? How about just a regular old PGA Tour event or just get a chance to tee it up? It's funny, too. I went from just asking for one more Sunday in contention, and now I want more and more. I'm greedy as a Tiger Woods fan. He's the reason I got into the game, or one of the reasons that I got into the game 20-some years ago. And not only do I want to see him do well and succeed and continue to inspire different generations of golfers, but it's such a thrill when he's in contention. There's still, as much as I love the new generation, which we'll talk about in just a second here in the second shot of this par 4, I still don't get that same feeling unless it's Tiger Woods. So at some point, I'm going to have to get over it. I think we're all going to have to get over it. Maybe
all of us, yeah, indeed.
Maybe that point is now. But, in the end, David, I got what I was asking the golf gods for. I got another major championship. I dared not dream of that. And we got it almost 2 full calendar years ago. So for me, I'm okay with whatever happens here. That sounds selfish. What does Tiger care what I think about him? But at least from my experience, I feel like the comeback, whatever you want to call it, from the injuries, from the psychological sting of the public embarrassment, all that, he's been redeemed in that way. He has come all the way back. For me, the rest is just gravy. How about you?
Yeah, I just like I said, I'm glad it looks like he's going to be okay, just and survive. And I think that's the bottom line up front. But yeah, seeing him show up on a Sunday in red, knowing that he could win the thing, there is no feeling like that. So I totally understand where you're coming from on that. And it's the guy, I mean, back fusion surgery is, that doesn't sound like it feels good, let alone having to play a sport where you torque your body in the way he does. And, it's hard to imagine golf without him, but I'm just glad that he'll be around and he'll hopefully still be a huge part of the game, regardless of whether or not he plays again, which unfortunately is something we might need to think about. But again, it's early, and I guess we'll see kind of what the news brings us.
Okay, yeah, we were going to talk about, like I said, Tiger's prospects and the rest of the season, the PGA Tour transitioning from the West Coast to Florida here with the moved World Golf Championship going from Mexico City due to COVID to the concession in Bradenton. We'll talk about spring training with baseball too, warm thoughts, all that. So if you're down there covering it, if you're down there watching spring training, you can probably, I don't know if there's going to be any fans allowed. Florida's kind of different in terms of
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Of rules.
Well, I wanted to bring that up, and I when we talk about the Florida swing coming up, and we can get into more depth in a minute, but I was just looking because I was curious, and Bay Hill, PGA National, and the players are going to have some fans there. I think it's only like 20 to 25% depending on the crowds there, and I oddly think that's going to matter a lot. Those are already really incredibly difficult courses. We had some fans in Scottsdale. TPC Scottsdale is challenging in its own right, but less challenging, I think, safe to say, than Bay Hill, PGA National, and Sawgrass. And I think you just add the fan element into some of these the Florida swing, and it just feels like we're going to learn a lot about some guys, given what fans in the stands could bring, because their world, competitive golf hasn't had that sort of fan factor in the last year, and I'm really intrigued to see kind of who rises to the top of all that.
Well, a guy who's been trying to rise to the top is someone that we both root for. We've discussed this online quite a bit, and now we can formally transition over to shot two. It's Tony Finau and Finau fever, proving to be incurable. It's a pesky bug that we deal with. He's been trying to get that win number 2, first win on the continent. His only win on the PGA Tour was the Puerto Rico Open in, I believe, 2016 or 2015. So it's been a while for Tony, even though he's played in a Ryder Cup in 2018. He has now finished either solo second or tied for second 10 times since his most recent win. It seems like he's in the top 10 every week, which tells me, David, he's playing great golf. He's a charismatic figure for me. I remember watching the Faraday special from his house. He's got a brood of kids out there and a lovely wife, and very easy to root for. Easy power off the tee, the definition of easy power, I would say, in terms of his golf swing, and he leaves some in the tank. He admits to that. He's not trying to Bryson it necessarily, but he can do it if he wants to. He can put it out there with anybody on tour. His putting seems to be improving, but excruciating this past week at Genesis. This is the first time actually in a close call that I wasn't necessarily rooting for Tony all the way. I've gotten to know Max Homa via his social media, via his various podcast appearances, including his own with Shane Bacon of the Golf Channel most recently. He's just a very likable guy, as you see after the event, breaking down, talking about fanning out when it comes to Tiger Woods and all this. A very relatable player, so I was pulling for him too. It was a no-lose in the playoff, honestly. But for Finau, he shoots a great round of the day in the final round. That's been the knock against him when he's in contention. He can't quite get that low number to pop up. But he does it this time and sneaks into the playoff, catches a huge break when Homa misses the 3-footer, and he still can't get it done. So are you of the mind that it's just a matter of time because he's playing such great golf, or is there some sort of a barrier there going on that he's going to need some supernatural event to overcome?
If you would have asked me that question before last weekend, I would have told you that maybe this just won't happen. You touched on it, but Tony's never gone out there and been the dude on Sunday. And obviously I think he started 7 strokes back from Sam Burns. I think Burns was at 12 under and Finau at 5 under at the start of the day Sunday. So for him to come out and fire off a 64 in regulation, just 1 bogey, I think 8 birdies on the round, was truly an incredible round. And his putting was phenomenal. He's switched his grip multiple times. And he seemed to find one, obviously, that he likes. I know he and his coach, Boyd Summerhays, those are among the things that they seem to tinker with all the time. And his effort around the greens, I think, was really extraordinary all weekend, especially all the tournament, but especially on Saturday and Sunday as he sort of kind of climbed his way into contention. He only shot even par on Thursday last weekend. So all that's to say, it was encouraging to see him be the best guy on the course on Sunday and to shoot that low round. And, he gracefully did the interview with Amanda Balionis. It can probably mess with you if the storyline every time you are in contention is, can you win it? And you're in contention a lot. So Lord knows, what that does in the 6 inches between the ears. But I feel like he knows what it's like. I mean, he made that move on Sunday, and I'm hopeful that it is about time. That said, the last time he was this close, he loses to Webb Simpson in a playoff at the Waste Management after being up 2 strokes with 2 holes to play, and credit to Webb for going birdie finish to force the playoff last year. But and credit to Homa for winning, but I truly think that Tony, it's there, it's coming there. And when he drives the ball as accurately as he did, especially over the weekend, and putts as well as he did, he's one of the most talented guys on the tour. And I don't think that's a question.
Maybe this is his week, the change in venue. Of course, who knows? But it's tough to bet against him at this point because, like I said, he keeps putting himself there. And you need some luck to win on the PGA Tour. And you need some great shots, obviously, some clutch play, but you need some luck. So if there's ever a guy that's due for some luck, I think it is Tony Finau as we bring the tour back east. Let's talk about some local golf here, David, and in particular, your game, working in television. It's not exactly the 9 to 5, so you have a little more wiggle room, or you've had some wiggle room in terms of trying to get out to the course around your work schedule, maybe some days off during the week. I love playing weekday golf because the crowds aren't there. It's a lot easier to get around quickly. I'm a guy who likes to play with some pace, so I'm sure that works out, or it has worked out for you. So how does golf fit into your life, and how big of a part of your life is it here?
It is big. I mean, I live and breathe it, and in the summer, spring and summer, I'm playing as much as possible. I have a buddy that I play with a bunch, and we're the guys freezing out there trying to get, a good 7 a.m. tee time in October to try and get it done quickly as well. I always joke with him that golf's like the one sport where you want to play and you want to get out there, but you want to do it in under a certain amount of time. That like brings me even more joy to play around in under 3.5, 4 hours. So to your point about pace, I hear you there. But yeah, I play a ton, at least once or twice on weekends, depending. And I used to have a schedule where I'd be up for work at 3 a.m. I'd start my work day, and that would wrap me up around 11 or noon. So I'd usually go out and play in the afternoons, try not to fall asleep as I'm playing the back nine by myself when I did that because I'm so tired. But play a bunch, play everywhere. Some courses I certainly like a little bit more than others, but I had no idea just sort of the culture of golf here in Pittsburgh. I'm from Southwest Virginia, and I grew up playing, and we have some great courses down where I'm from, including a Pete Dye track that's the home course for Virginia Tech men's golf, or golf, their entire golf team. So, I come from good golf roots, but Western Pennsylvania is like amazing. I just didn't expect that. And all over, surrounding the city, I'd like to think I've played many of the courses and certainly enjoy playing in this area.
Well, I love getting your perspective. I grew up around here, so it's hard for me to really get a grasp on the region in terms of golf compared to other places. I've lived up in Michigan. Michigan's a great golf state too, but the golf season is shorter in Michigan too. So we have the advantage of at least maybe a month or two extra of golf. Of course, I'm always envious of folks who live in the Carolinas and Georgia and, well, especially Florida, Arizona, Southern California, places where you can play literally year-round. Not so much here. For instance, a day like today, this Tuesday, pretty good day in terms of the atmosphere, but there's still an inch or two of snow on the ground, so you're not going to be able to play. So it is good to hear from you that you feel like it's a vibrant golf area. As we can move on to shot 4, I want to ask you, first of all, do you have a couple of courses that have stood out, courses that you play a lot, or maybe one or two that are treats that you get to once in a while, but you make that pilgrimage just because you feel like they're that good?
Yeah, the constant that I've always really liked is Fort Cherry down in Washington County. It's just I think a nice track. They do a good job of maintaining it, keeping it, and it's a little bit more open. So on the days where the swing's not going too well, it's certainly a fun course. And Quicksilver down that way also is when we're looking for a little bit more of a treat. Quicksilver is a fun little track to play. And then Lindenwood down in the south of the city there, right off of Route 19, Peters Township area. Is another one. They've got the 27, which is fun, which too you're going to kind of get assigned, and we enjoy that. So those are kind of some of the staples, especially down south. Have gotten the chance to play Oakmont and Fox Chapel twice each, which was an incredible experience. Was just really grateful to get that opportunity and to play there. And just your knees get a little shaky over everything there because you kind of feel like you're walking on hallowed ground at both places. And those are the treat ones for sure. But those are the kind of the ones that come to mind. I live east of the city, so Three Lakes and Penn Hills, Meadowink out in the Murraysville area are some of the ones we get to there. And of course, South Park and North Park are part of the rotation as well. Just easy to get to, fun courses to play, even though South and North Park are a little longer from the tips.
Very much overlap for you and me in terms of places that we play. The only one that I haven't played that you mentioned there is Meadowink. I've been out to Murraysville Golf Club, know the owner pretty well, and the guy who does marketing for them too, Craig. But I know that Meadowink is on my slate for 2021 for sure. Oakmont, I'm very disappointed that I had to pass on a chance to play it in 2016, right before the Open. There was a media day. And I was also covering the Pirates at that time. I was in San Diego, so don't cry for me too much, Argentina. It was fine. I was doing okay, covering Bucks and Padres at Petco, but at the same time, I was ruining the fact that I had to take a rain check, and of course, that's never going to be redeemed. Maybe the next Open that's there. What is it? 2025.
25, I think. Yeah.
I want to say, but I just want to know. When you tee off on number one there, that might be one of the tougher opening holes in all of golf, right? There's no easing into that round. So how'd you do off that first tee?
Well, the first time I played it, I went straight into the woods on the right, which was just a really great experience. So the second time I played it, I promised myself I wouldn't do that. And I actually, I hit my first shot just short of a bunker on the right. And of course, the caddy, if you remember, we had a stretch last September where it was just dry. We just didn't get any rain. And this was towards the tail end of that before we did get some rain. And I mean, I was 240 away, and you know that first it's downhill, and the caddy he goes 8, I think he said 7 iron. So I pulled a 7 iron, and I mean, God bless the caddy, but I put it on the green from 240 with the 7 iron. So obviously I hit that downhill, and that thing just rolled. And of course I promptly 3-putted, which was just a fantastic way to finish it. So I got on in regulation, and then Oakmont did what it does to average players, below average players like me. So,
well, what's your handicap? Just throw it out there.
Like 17, 18, high teens, not great, but yeah, like I said, it's an activity that I love. So I'm not going out here playing for a lot of money. I'm always playing for fun and enjoy getting out there.
How was the adaptation to those greens, by the way? Because you mentioned it 3-putt on the first. You always hear that I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe the members are exaggerating a little bit, but they say they actually slow down the greens for the U.S. Open for the pros to come in.
I can just tell you that the day that we played, and I know because I had to rush home to get home I'm a Bills fan, so we had to get home for the Bills-Rams game. But it was mid-September, and it was just so firm and so fast, just everything was, and the greens included. I kept track of my putts on my scorecard, and I did not have a single 1-putt. So they were firm and fast, and it was absolutely difficult. But that's what it's supposed to be, right?
No doubt. And you do hear occasionally that fast greens actually make it easier to putt because you just have to start on the right line. They're usually smooth. I think I agree with that for the most part. After you get adjusted, there is that acclimation period.
When it's a different ball game when you're on those greens. It just is. And it was certainly, it does take some acclimating, but yeah, my buddy that I play with all the time, we talk about, we just call it the good course theory, where if a course is really well maintained and kept in really good shape and every lie seems fair and every green seems well rolled, then, you know, if you play enough, then you sort of know your game a little bit to know how to, you know, what a shot might do or what you anticipate it might do. So I'm not saying the good course, good play theory applies at a place like Oakmont, but yeah, the greens certainly roll obviously incredibly true, but the way they can cut them sometimes creates some issues.
All right, last thing. Do you have any items on your to-do list for 2021 that you didn't get to in 2020 when you talk about places to play or perhaps shots to pull off, accomplishments to tick off your chart there?
I am. I told you when I told you my handicap. So we're looking to improve the swing overall. I just got back from the range tonight. I just obviously made the complete amateur mistake of buying some new irons because my old ones I got them 6 or 7 years ago. So if I can learn to hit them well, if I can strike the ball a little bit better, I think that's the main goal. So if we can break 80 2 or 3 times this year, I'll be very, very happy. I've done it a handful of times in my life, but if we can do it more than once, I'll be happy. So that's the goal. But we're going to need a friendly course to be able to make that happen. So we'll figure out where that is.
Well, yeah, you and I were talking about Bird's Foot earlier today. That might not be the course to break 80.
Bird's Foot's not going to be it.
That's a tough one. 80 is a really good score.
I played Bird's Foot a couple times last year, and I had the 9 of my life on the front. I think we might have talked about this back in the day. I had the 9 of my life on the front, made a miracle par on 10, and then 11 is the par 3 that's got the horseshoe bunkers around it. I promptly hit into one of those and doubled, and then I put my tee ball on 12 into the woods, and it all sort of fell apart there. So I think I went 38-48 that day because I remember being 10 strokes worse on the back. But yeah, all good.
Whenever I do that schizophrenic 9 holes, it's usually high at the start and then low at the end. It's a little more upsetting when you start low and then you go on the high end. But you know what? They all add up the same way. So that's what you have to tell yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shout out to Travis Lindsay, the owner up there in GM. He has one hell of a golf course. That's tremendous if you've never been out there. You and I have to get out there. We'll see this summer. And I'm glad you mentioned North and South Park too, because I love the munis as well. They're so cheap. Right now, I think I played last month for $9 at North Park. So that's as good as it gets, I think.
And they do a good job. I mean, they're obviously similar courses, but they're long and fun. And yeah, I think they do a good job maintaining them. The Allegheny County Park system does.
Yeah, they're good layouts. If you haven't tried them, I would suggest get out there. I heard at South Park, especially, the conditioning got better last year. They hired a new superintendent. So, hey, really good public golf, really good muni golf, in addition to all those old country clubs that we have here in Pittsburgh, too. It's a nice mix. David Kaplan's been my guest here on the PGN Par 4. I'm not sure we really stuck to the 4 topics thing, but I just wanted to have a conversation with him. I always see you out there tweeting about golf, and it's a nice fraternity to be in as far as folks who care about this game. And we're looking forward to another big year. 2020 was a nice year for all of us golfers because we had little else to do. So no excuse except to get out there and play a lot more. Hoping for more of the same, albeit under better worldwide pandemic conditions here. I just hope to roll over all that momentum that golf had last year that it built up. So David, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate that. We'll have to do it again.
Please. Thank you so much for having me. And let's hope Tony gets that win soon. Maybe Augusta, he was in that final grouping with Tiger when he won. So maybe he learned a thing or two and can make it happen. I don't think anybody was beating DJ in November, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, great point about that. He's got plenty of, you could call it scar tissue or you could call it experience. You could call it a little bit of both, and he does have it in the majors as well. You can see my guest David Kaplan on WTAE, our ABC affiliate here in town, and he's on Twitter at @DKaplan. Spell his last name Kaplan, D Kaplan WTAE on Twitter. So we'll look for him there. We'll look for you on PittsburghGolfNow.com. We've got the Par 4 videos. I've got another special feature coming from the dojo of a local teacher who is doing some great work these days, whether it be indoors this time of the year or outdoors at Frosty Valley during the warmer months. That's coming up on PGN as well before we get into the meat of the golf season. It's coming soon, folks. March is on the doorstep. We'll talk to you next time.